Hi all, Kyber1 here with campaign setting review number 4, Keyforge, Secrets of the Crucible. So I literally just got this today. I was shocked that it actually came out, given Fantasy Flight's issues as of late. And I've had time to sit through and go through the entire book, and here are some thoughts on it. The themes are a single ever-growing world comprised of many pieces of various worlds. It's the kitchen sink setting. So there are some aspects I really like of this, and some I absolutely find atrocious. Use only, and since it's a kitchen sink, what you find valuable. This reminds me of the Genesis core rules, GURPS, Rifts, Torg, Cypher System, but as an actual setting. So League of Legends, because it's so weird and there's so much weird stuff to it, and it doesn't seem to really go with anything. So, my big complaint is it's the setting that isn't a setting. It's a fake world where chunks of other worlds were stolen and thrown into it. Why? I don't know. The high praise, though, is that this is an excellent universal inspiration guide. Yes, it's Star Wars Fantasy Flight Games version and Genesis, but it's also so much more. The key points, though, are the challenge levels and adversary profiles on page 7. So you have some iconography right there, and they tell you how strong something is in different situations, which is absolutely handy. I love that. It's a good idea. I love how this book references the core rules when you need to look in the core rules, and it even gives you the page numbers. Absolutely love that. Most of the pages have the numbers in the corner. Love that. So character creation runs from page 19 to 84, and within that section, table 1.1, the crucible in your character on page 23. So basically, how does your character feel about the crucible? And pretty much this is almost a universal concept. Like, do they feel trapped by the world or surrounding or nation that they've grown up in? Like, you can use that for anything. And like, how does your character feel about the Empire in Star Wars? It's that sort of same philosophy. I would recommend taking that, definitely. Species, the 11 species mentioned are on 25 to 36, and they vary greatly. If you've seen Keyforge, then you know it is a chaotic mess of kitchen sink elements. Not something I really care for. But where this absolutely shines is species creation on 37 to 56. And there's all sorts of mechanical differences between the species listed, so they're excellent starting points, I guess. So if you want to create your own species, there's a starting profile on page 37, gives you the basic outline. Then you want to choose your form, and then there's different forms, including a hybrid form, so you could choose two of the others or roll. You gain more benefits and lose more benefits if you roll on these. Because rolling is the only way to achieve an overpowered character and an underpowered character, according to the game rules, but your GM should allow you to do what it is you want to do. If you have a strong enough character concept, physiology, so let's go over form. You have aerodynamic, amorphous, asymmetrical, bestial, bodiless, humanoid, hydrodynamic, scuttler, serpentine, and a hybrid. Then your second selection is physiology. You have artificial, avian, fleshy, floral, gaseous, incorporeal, insectoid, mammalian, mineral, piscine, or reptilian. And each of these has a description and unique rules to it. Then you have step 3, size. And there are 5 size categories: silhouette 0, 1, 2, 3, and variable. Silhouette 1 is your medium character. Silhouette 0 is a small character. 2 is like the size of a horse, I'm guessing, and 3 is something like maybe the size of a whale. And the variable, you choose to, and you can shift between them. Each of these has advantages and disadvantages. Then you have your locomotion method: assisted, ambulation, flight, hovering, jumping, rolling, slithering, and translocation. Then you have your manipulation method. You have assisted, hands, limited, mental, mouth, pincers, pseudopods, tentacles, or secondary manipulation. And secondary manipulators are, you roll twice on there. And then you have dominant sense, auditory, olfactory, telepathy, thermal, tremor sense, and visual. Then you have features, and there are a lot of features on here. I can't go over everything here, or this would take entirely way too long. Okay, I'm on the 5th pages of features. Okay, so there's just over 5 pages worth of features. Then your next option is culture. You have anarchic, competitive, cutthroat, hedonist, peaceful, scholarly, spiritual, utopian, warlike, zealous. Then you have your tech level. You have 6 tech levels: fire bad, rudimentary, sophisticated, advanced, highly advanced, and indistinguishable from magic. Then, if you have done the randomization, then you have your starting experience, and there are 4 different rules: 70 XP, 80 XP, 90 XP, and 100 XP. Each one has a 20% chance, or, well, no, that's not true, sorry. There's greater odds of hitting 80 or 90 than either 70 or 100. Then you have your aspect. Are you ornamented, subtle, bright, dark, mysterious, deceptive, frightening, festive, monstrous, ungainly, elegant, fragile, mercurial, haughty, predatory, sturdy, nightmarish, benign, friendly, or appealing? Yeah, I mean, there's so many aspects to character creation in here. And then after the species creation, those were all species choices. You have careers on 58 to 68. And I'm going to pronounce some of these wrong because they have that weird AE symbol. Ambermancer, Arbitrator, Craniac, Cruciblist, Discoverer, Engineer, Mender, Performer, Rogue, Trader, not Rogue Trader, but Rogue and then Trader. And then you have Vault Warrior. Skills range from 69 to 73. Talents from 74 to 84. Organizational ties on 87. And yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff in here. And remember, even though this is classified as a campaign setting, it is the loosest campaign setting I've ever heard of. It's just a bunch of ideas. Richard Garfield, famous for helping create Magic, had a hand in the Keyforged card game, which is a pre-constructed deck and limited to pre-constructed decks. I appreciate the idea of balance, but at the same time, it forces players to have to buy new decks for new experiences entirely without the knowledge that guided them in the first place. And of course, there are aids within the starter boxes that are almost essential to playing the card game version of this. Let's see, what was I looking for? Oh yes, organizational ties on 87. So, are you an exemplar? Are you a proselytizer, a casual follower, deserter, or a heretic? Like, how do you feel about the organization you either currently have ties to or were once tied to? And there's just a lot of organization material here. Yeah, okay, so yeah, organizations stem from 88 through 134, and then you have the Amber economy on 136 and 137. And basically, the universally accepted currency is known as AIM-bits, or just bits. It's got the weird AE symbol. I understand you're doing it for flavor, guys, but and I feel it's the only thing keeping your world together, and that's kind of sad. But then they have this little section on local currencies. That's pretty cool. And generally, when you have colored outlines like that, like filled in, it's important for setting information. Armaments and gear goes from 138, to 157. Basic weapons table on 138. Items in Amber on 139. So basically, it says some weapons and armor require one or more Amber to activate the item quality or special ability. So basically, it's ammunition for those abilities or qualities. Sorry, my mustache is hitting my mask. You have the weapons trait table on page 140, basic armor table on 143, armor traits table on 144, gear tables on 148 to 149, and the one on 149 references the Genesis core rulebook, so it just makes it that much easier to reference core material, and I really like that from a supplemental sort of idea, and coming from that idea is so important when you have a supplemental book. Thank you, Fantasy Flight Games, for making something so much more accessible without reprinting and wasting not only my time and money, but also your time and money. Manipulators and conveyances on 149. So basically there's this section that some species start off with manipulators because they may not have hands or the ability, maybe they have like some cybernetic gear that does something for them. So it's treated as gear. If they lose it, they have a harder difficulty using it, which is pretty cool. But I would recommend reading that section. Steeds as vehicles on 151. So it basically tells you how to use mounts properly. Treasures of the Crucible table on 152. Cybernetics table on 155. Vehicles on 157 to 162. And every vehicle has stats in it. And then there's a section AI in Star Alliance and Logos vehicles. So basically, if your vehicle has certain attributes, it is capable of self-piloting itself, which is cool. And then with the Mars Walker, you have alternative tentacle developments. Chapter 4 is on the Amber or Ember, whatever you want to call it, Amber, I'm thinking. So the two forms of Amber are on 166, and that's ironically right there. Basically, there's raw amber and processed amber. Processed amber can be an item of sorts, whereas raw amber is a resource like ammunition to utilize skills or abilities. It's an expendable resource. The AFEX system on 167 to 176. So you choose a concept, an AFECT design, the AEFFECT, and then the AFECT powers. Yeah, look, it has the weird AE thing again. Step 4, gather components. Step 5, make skill check. And then step 6, finishing touches. So that's a really cool system. You get to develop stuff way more differently than a lot of other games that I've seen, and I love the player guided sort of narrative here. That's awesome. Then you have the narrative dice Amber tables on 177 and 178. And this basically just tells you how to use the narrative dice with the Amber. Like whenever you're using Amber, you're utilizing the narrative within the confines of that. So that's a really good thing because it is a unique resource to this universe or whatever. And it really is usable outside of it. Like, for instance, say, what if your Kyber crystals or whatever in Star Wars is equivalent to Amber? You know, what happens if you find a large cache of it? It might have a similar sort of effect. So just keep that in mind, you know. And then you have your bestiary on 220 through 245. There are a lot of creatures in here. And between those sections, you have the Crucible, and the Crucible has some creatures listed throughout it. I didn't count. There's just a lot of specific things in specific areas and NPCs just for flavor, but once again, I'm not that interested in the setting. I like the ideas in here. And it's a very confusing prospect for me because I think this is kind of the worst setting I've experienced because of the kitchen sink aspect. As I said, it feels like a bunch of generic role-playing games just forced together, and then whatever squeezed out, like you're squeezing lemons or oranges into juice, and that juice is this game or this setting. Yeah. Wow. Okay, the alternative rewards on 252 to 254, I really like that aspect. So 252 to 254. Lots of creatures. So, rewards don't have to be experience or money. They could be information, patronage, equipment, armor. You could develop your NPCs, and consequences are important too. It's a narrative system, and I like how they refresh the idea of not just giving players things or experience or money, but really the heart, the core of the system, being narrative in nature. You have the Archons, 260 to 261. These are powerful creatures that remind me of the what are they called? In the 13th Age, you have your high characters, your what are they called? They're like the archetype characters that are extremely powerful. Archons are essentially like the deities on Theros. They're not really relatable to your characters. It's varied on the amount of information they have, how they will act towards you. There's a little section on creating your own Archons. What are they called in 13th Age? I hope I remember one day. I'm not going to waste any more of your time on that. And then you have a Crucible Adventure Builder on 262 to 270. You can use this for any game. Like, it's simple concepts, and it's stuff that would be fun in anything. The pros here are that Keyforge, Secrets of the Crucible, has plenty of content and customization for the price. Like, after tax, I paid just over $50 for this. And the cons are just the setting, the underwhelming setting. Like, I would never run this as a setting. I mean, who knows? I might accidentally be running it as a setting because it's so broad and it expands daily, I guess. Like, parts of other worlds are patchworked into it. Like, and it even says in the book that there's no seeming rhyme or reason to it. So, I mean, Middle Earth could be stuck in here. Star Wars, like the entire universe, portions of it might be stuck in here. Do I recommend this? Absolutely. Ignore the setting and take all of the ideas. There are so many good ideas. Just, if you want to play any type of character, if you want to do any type of thing, this is really the greatest role-playing resource I have ever seen for unique character design. And it's simply based off creating your own species. If you have Fantasy Flight Star Wars and you're looking for something different, check this out. If you have the Genesis role-playing game, definitely get this. Do not limit yourself on what has come before. Take only what you need from it. I promise you, this is like one of the best uses of $50 in the role-playing game world right now, given everything, at least that I've seen. It is absolutely a wonderful product, and not because it's a setting, unfortunately. It's the kitchen sink, but the level of customization is absolutely absurd and fun. If you want to play a spirit, like, no kidding, take some of your favorite Magic the Gathering cards and try to build characters or species based on them from here. I think you'll be able to do it. I think you'll have a wonderful time. I think you will be surprised. I think you will be delighted. I think that you will have an experience and the amount of playability you truly want from a unique just source. I found this an absolute joy to read through, simply because of the options, simply because of how it almost reminds me of, like, I don't know, like, I like a lot of the character design for League of Legends, for instance, and I could see myself looking at several games and just plugging characters from different universes into this and trying to create them, and I love it. Like, great job, Fantasy Flight. I don't know what you were thinking, Richard Garfield. I don't know what to say. Great job, and I'm confused. Alright, highly recommended. An absolute joy. Kyburn 1 out.